Hey guys, Bubba here with the Bubba News, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing? Did you guys have a good weekend? It's kind of crazy already how it's Monday and now Monday's over. It's guys, time is flying by so fast. I thought I'd do this kind of premiere thing again. I want to do another live stream because I know it's so much fun seeing you guys in chat, just going to town, and hoping with this premiere get a couple people. I know it'll be late tonight because it takes like an hour, seems like, to upload these things when you do a premiere, but I just wanted to get out more information about what's coming up. And you know, it seems like we've been hearing about the Iran attack is coming within 24 hours. I mean, we've literally been hearing that for 10 days. And chatting with some buddies tonight, even not even Watchman River, but a buddy in California, Mark, and like, it just feels like it's scripted, you know, because we've been hearing about how it's going to come here on Tish B'Av, which is right now. It started today with sunset in Israel tonight, Monday, and goes until sunset at 7:24 p.m., I believe. Just shy of 7:26, which I found was very interesting. Tomorrow there on Tuesday, the 13th. So, I just wanted to maybe just go over some stuff with you guys. Because, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of why I called it Israel, the calm before the storm. Because it does. It feels like it's truly the mega calm before the storm, before a mega war with Israel on the horizon. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Hezbollah's not going to back down. Iran's not going to back down. And the Houthis are not going to back down because they still owe Israel a retaliation from the port of Hudaida that was hit 3 weeks ago. So it's building up. And again, for those of you who are able to donate or whatnot, I just want to say thank you again. I have it set up now below for Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, Give, Send, Go, which is kind of neat. Also, I just wanted to share a blessing. Thank you guys, too, for helping me over there with Watchman River and everybody. Over 5,000 subs now. And, you know, I could care less about numbers. I just want to be myself and just give you guys the information. And if anything, I want to take today's headlines in the news as it deals with the Middle East and help us understand, as I'm learning, how it ties into Bible verses, actually. Because this is end-time Bible prophecy that's come into play here. I mean, this is no joke. It's ramping up. And we're getting there. Yeah, we're definitely getting there. It's just, you know, is it going to happen here in the next 18, 12 hours with Tish B'Av? We've got the big final-ditch effort meeting with Qatar, Egypt, Israel, the United States on Thursday the 15th. Then we have Hamas last night that says that they won't send a delegation. And, you know, if they don't come to this ceasefire, it's going to kick off into big war. And they all know it's coming. But it honestly feels like it's being scripted and being set into motion, and the powers that be are like allowing it to come into play as they deem necessary, like puppets on a string. But we know Jeremiah 1:12, you know, God is watching over his word to perform it. So God's controlling all these puppet masters with their strings, but you know, and there's probably a reason even why the Jerusalem Post even made mention of that attack with Iran on Israel tomorrow. Tisha B'Av, the final day, you know, during their time of their mourning and sadness. And, you know, they all fast. The majority of the Jews, whether they're secular or Orthodox, to fast during this entire time. So, you know, they're going to be getting hungry soon. I'll just go over some of the stuff today, and then we'll wrap it up. But I want to know from you guys what you guys would like to see. I know that people are dying to understand Bible prophecy and to better understand it and to get a grasp on it so that they can share with others. Because just like Jesus told us in, what is that? John 13:19. Before John 14:1-6, where he says, I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, so that where I am, there you will be also. But he tells us beforehand, I tell you the things before they happen, so that when they happen, you will believe. That's John 13:19 before that passage in John 14, and then John 14:29 follows it up again. So it's just a really neat encouragement on both sides. But yeah, it's just been way too quiet here. Seems like the past couple days and nights even. I'm sure you guys have all noticed this. I'll start reading the Telegram stuff, but it's been way too quiet between Israel and her enemies lately. We've been anticipating the Iran and or mega Hezbollah attack for the past 10 days now. The United States estimates that the Iranian response is expected to be significant and 3 times as large as the one on April 13th. Fox News reported earlier today that it feared Iran will attack Israel within the next 24 hours. We keep hearing that over and over and over. And I'll give you my synopsis at the end of this, too, and some verses where I think it could come into play and time frames and whatnot. But last week, Western intelligence officials stated that Iran may have been planning an attack on Tisha B'Av, lasting through sundown tomorrow. If Iran or Hezbollah attacks within the next 12 hours or say, it would still attack on Tisha B'Av. And it's now almost 10 p.m. Eastern here on Monday, so it's 5 a.m. In Israel. So they have about, by the time this video gets up, they'll have about 14 hours left of Tisha B'Av. So, but nothing yet appears on the attack horizon. Iranian sources quoted as emphasizing the importance of the psychological warfare that Iran is currently conducting. And they said that waiting for death is harder than death itself. And they are. They're doing a lot of propaganda. Even after October 7th, part of the money that the United States under Biden freed up for them to use, the billions, they set aside half of $1 billion for their propaganda machine. For Hamas and everything else. So, but all eyes are still hoping for the ceasefire and hostage deal that's coming up on Thursday the 15th. And this could be kind of why Hezbollah is holding off, Iran is holding off, or at least that's what we think, to try to see if it'll go through. But the threat is still there that either player could act preemptively. But the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant stated in a confidential review before the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee today that the number of hostages who are still alive within the humanitarian category is between 20 and 35, depending on the interpretation. So the last I saw, there's like 115 or 117 hostages still in Gaza. And Israel's estimating only 20 to 35 of them are still left alive. Up to maybe 25%, if you're lucky. Because keep in mind, we're coming up to, we're over 10 months now. That's crazy. And this is why it might be that Israel in this ceasefire hostage deal situation talks coming up on Thursday's schedule. This is why Israel is asking for 33 hostages in this deal. So I think their planners are telling Israel to ask for as many as you can within the numbers that we believe that are left alive, because this is probably the last-ditch effort if we can get any of them back out alive. So, today, the IDF put all its forces on high alert the first time this month of August. But there's been no change in the home front command instructions for Israel. So they're not expecting anything imminent. And April 13th, 14th, they had a max of, 6 hours? 4 to 6 hours that they could have gotten messages out to the people. We started seeing the drones and whatnot being fired hours beforehand. From social media from Iraq and Syria and Jordan and other places of the Iranian attack. And there are many predictions for the retaliation to still be in the next 24 hours over the Tisha B'Av, but that remains to be seen. Dozens of Israeli fighter jets are still armed to the max, and they are ready to go to prevent any Hezbollah attack. And this is true because I threw this up here because the USA mobilization of the military assets to the Middle East region is larger than the American employment for the Iranian attack, which happened on April 13th, 14th. Israel and the USA expect the Iranian response could be 3 times larger. Intel says that Iran has taken significant steps to prepare for launching missiles and drones at Israel, as well as Hezbollah. And Iran still has that Natam over their Tehran area for gunfiring until, I believe, the 15th as well. Israel said today, though, that harm to Israeli civilians will trigger a disproportionate response in Iran and Lebanon, as the IDF chief has approved Israeli strike plans all across the Middle East if the Israeli civilians are hit. Another article towards later this afternoon, and this is from mariv.co.il. It's Israeli. You can translate it. I put it on the Telegram, but it's a Hebrew, and it says that the IDF estimates that Hezbollah will attack soon before Iran and will attack an Israeli military target, aiming to avoid a full-scale war with Israel. So the thinking by the Israeli intelligence is that Hezbollah is going to launch a big attack on one of their military installations, whether it's a base or what they've been doing for the past 8-10 months, hitting, the radar systems on Mount Meron and the other places all along the northern border, taking out the eyes and ears of the IDF on Israel's northern border. But the IDF officials say that a strike by Hezbollah could trigger days of war and intensive Israeli operations in the Israeli retaliation back to Hezbollah. Basically, Israel is saying if we're hit like that, we will then go to war for at least a couple days minimum. And that this fight, Israel and the IDF estimates are saying, and that this fight would only stop via quote-unquote foreign intervention to end this fight once it begins. So they're basically saying once this kicks off, they know what they're going to be doing and what they're going to have to do, and it will take basically an act of God or foreign intervention to stop this war as they continue to start ramping up more and more towards the Psalm 83 full-on scenario. I said we're not out of the woods yet, folks. The question isn't if the war will ensue. The question is when. There's so many variables at stake this week from this time going forward, and we are in the mega calm right now before the mega storm, in my opinion. What will be the spark that will set this fire ablaze? And we'll get back to this here in a second with more war discussion, but I found this interesting. A magnitude 5.4, 5.5 earthquake earlier this afternoon. I put this up, 5:13 p.m. Eastern, struck north of the Syrian capital of Damascus towards Homs. Hama, that area. Just east of Beirut, where the Hezbollah strongholds are up there in Baalbek, the areas. Heavy shaking was being felt across Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel. They even felt it down to the West Bank. And it was felt over to Beirut, Lebanon. And this reminded me, because it was near Homs, of not only is Damascus going to get hit in Isaiah 17, verses 1 through 14, but also in Jeremiah 49, verses 23 to 27, gives us a different camera angle of the same Isaiah 17 scenario there with Damascus. But the strong cities of Homs is mentioned in Isaiah 49, verse 23. Their ancient name in that verse is current modern day Homs, Aleppo, that area up there. So it's really neat. Next post I threw up, and this is where I'll probably end it. But this is, and it's starting to get very prophetic in nature more and more these days. Because we still have the full, and here we go again, like the other premiere. Remember when I did this the other night? Someone said if I tilted it down, it might work better. So maybe that's what I should do. But anywho, Elam, and sorry, I'm live, so let's just get back to this. You guys have seen this on this stuff, but Elam is on the western side of the Zagros Mountains, 20% of current-day Iran, and it's closest to the Persian Gulf. And this is where they have all their ballistic missile bases, their majority of their drone bases, all in the Zagros Mountains. But it's also where Bushehr plant number 1 is, and they're building 2 and 3. Bushehr on the southern end of the Elam area sits on where 3 tectonic plates converge on top of it. So I said it's starting to get very prophetic in nature more and more these days with the news I was referring to. In recent meetings with Hezbollah, Iran expressed concern that Israel and the United States could strike its nuclear program using a full-scale conflict as a pretext for essentially neutralizing Iran's nuclear deterrence. This may be also one of the reasons why Iran has held off. Because they know if they hit Israel, they're not ready yet, just yet, I don't believe, with a nuclear weapon, but if they are, they're getting so close. But it'll probably be when they start getting those things armed and getting ready to launch, that's when Israel and the USA will begin their attack on Elam and take out their missile defense, or their missiles, their nuclear programs, a lot of them. This Bushehr humanitarian crisis that tells us in Jeremiah 49 verses 34 through 37, and specifically how the outcast of Elam, there will be not one country on the planet where the outcast of these people will not flee to. But the bigger concern, too, I was listening to some of the Bill Salas videos, and with the wind patterns and whatnot, is within 15 to 16 hours of the radiation, it will move across the Persian Gulf and affect between 40 and 100% mortality rate possible from Kuwait in the north to Saudi Arabia to Bahrain to Qatar, to the UAE, to Oman, and 30% of the oil gets transported through that area of the Persian Gulf, and that area also contains about 50% of the world's oil. And there's a huge concern that this will affect the nations across the way. So, yeah, could get interesting. And I said this sounds like a combo of mixing and action. Mixing prophecies and action coming that will end up leading to a Psalm 83 war scenario. After Elam is dealt with by the USA and Israel, it's told to us in the Jeremiah 49 verses 23 to 27 area. I want to say something too about the Psalm 83 war. I know a lot of people have said it's already happened in 1948, 1967 even, 1973 even. But I learned this over the weekend, and I wanted to point this out, which is kind of really wild. Because Israel became a nation in 1948, May 14th, 1948. On May 15th, 1948, a lot of the players of the Psalm 83 war, the 10 people groups mentioned, did launch an attack on Israel for the Israeli War of Independence in 1948. The tents of Edom, the refugee camps, didn't get started until after this war, and Israel took the land, and they got going in the ending of 1948 into 1949. So the tents of Edom player has not been fulfilled yet in a prophecy, like people say that it already happened in the 1948 war. Well, they weren't there yet. And I'll have to do my math again, but I think Hezbollah got started around the year 2006. And when you look at the inhabitants of Tyre, I think it's in Psalm 83 verses 6 or 7, somewhere in there, 6 through 8, but I believe 6 or 7. The inhabitants of Tyre, when you look that up, that wording of inhabitants, it means basically a people group that is taking over, a people group that has taken over the people group of the area that is currently there, aka like a terrorist group like Hezbollah. So if the inhabitants of Tyre was Hezbollah, then it definitely wasn't there in the 1973 war. It wasn't there in the Six-Day War of 67, and it definitely wasn't there in the 1948 Israeli War of Independence. So I still believe Psalm 83 is a prophecy yet to come. Anyway, sorry, I got excited. Here, see, now I feel like I'm doing a live stream because I get excited with you guys. But what I said, and I'm going to end it off with here, is what's coming first. Here's what I'm currently thinking. One, it could be the Hezbollah attack on Israel, and it looks like a Hezbollah attack on Israel is part of the full-on Zechariah 12, 1 through 9, but it looks like it could even have a dual-use prophecy of Jeremiah 1, verses 14 through 19, and it talks about an evil from the north coming down, and this is what Hezbollah plans to do, is to encircle Israel, but not only Hezbollah, the Iranian proxies in Syria, the Iranian proxies in Iraq, the Iranian proxies that are forming in Jordan as we speak. And there's going to be Iranian proxies down south. They're going to want to break through into Israel, just like Gaza on October 7th. And they're going to do an unsuccessful siege of Judah and Jerusalem that we read about in Zechariah 12, verses 1 through 9. Once you get to Zechariah 14, verse 2, you see that it's a successful siege as we go into Armageddon and the finality of the 7 years. But this chapter 12, especially verses 1 through 9, is still a prophecy coming up, because when you read the verse 6, it talks about those round about Israel, their Arab enemies, their neighbors. That ties right in with Ezekiel 28, verses 20 to 23. But that's where I was getting to next, was a preemptive strike, number 2, is possible by Israel on Hezbollah, and particularly the Sidon area of Ezekiel 28, verses 20 to 23. And this could be a prophecy where Israel is tired of waiting, and they know they're not going to get this peace deal, or if the ceasefire and the hostage deal doesn't go down on the 15th and it becomes a mess, and Hezbollah hasn't launched anything, Israel may take the upper hand to get that first punch in, and they might hit that Sidon area. But it's really wild, because it looks like the Sidon area won't be in, because they're not mentioned in the Psalm 83 war, but Tyre is. But we read in 17 verses in the Old Testament, when you see the word Sidon, it has its brother word Tyre with it. So it's really fascinating. And there's even a quote too where Zarephath, and that's 11 miles south of Sidon. This is part of the Obadiah 1, 17 through 20 prophecy. But it's all these verses that seem to be connecting into how this Middle East war is going to play out. You know, and the third thing is it still could be taking out the Iranian nuclear issue of Iran, that's mentioned to us there in Jeremiah 49, verses 34 to 37. So, I mean, we've got a lot of prophecies coming up. We've got a lot of things coming up. And right now, I truly feel like this is the calm before the storm. Will this attack come in the next 12, 24 hours, Tish B'Av? I don't know. Will it happen on Thursday, before or after this Gaza meeting, ceasefire thing, hostage thing? Maybe. But there's something coming up still that could, if they hold off, I don't see them waiting past this next weekend, on the full moon of all things. Because the full moon coming up on the 18th and 19th, if I believe right, I forget which moon it is, but I mean, there's so many prophetic things. But even talking with my buddy Bruce, we were doing a Bible search, even like on full moons, trying to find it in the Bible. And every time you look up the full moons, every time the wording is appointed times. So, you know, God's calendar is God's calendar, and we don't know where we are on it, but we see it all coming together like a puzzle, and it's fascinating to me. And I just it's been a passion of mine for 40 years to just dive in. I remember years ago when I was a flight attendant in Narita in Tokyo, back in the day with the airlines, and I wasn't living for the Lord. I was drunk in my room, and I remember that. But I remember I was yelling at the TV, "Leave those Jews alone!" You know, stupid. But I've always had that passion and whatever to know what's going to happen to God's children, His people. You know, God is not through with the Jew. I mean, God made so many promises with Himself regarding Israel, and you know, Israel is where God has His throne over, and He's over Jerusalem, and we come down in a city called the New Jerusalem. And I was even looking that up earlier today again. You know, the word Jerusalem is huge to God. I mean, there's 1,186 chapters in the Bible, 66 books. You know, 31,103 verses, I believe. And about 3%, well, not 3%, but 1 out of every 3 verses in the Bible has the word Jerusalem, Zion, or City of David, which I found is fascinating. Just the word Jerusalem. It's mentioned 814 times in 766 verses. Zion is mentioned 60 times. And the city of David is mentioned 146 times. So you've got 1,020 times that, and we're not even talking about Salem, that's first mentioned as Jerusalem in Genesis 9, I think it is, or 13, I forget offhand. But I mean, Jerusalem is big to God, so I mean, and we know that Jerusalem will still be standing. But, you know, read Zechariah 14:2. You know, and the 2/3 of the Jews that get cut off and killed in the last half of the tribulation, Zechariah 13 verses 8 and 9. But Zechariah 14:2, and the entire city is captured in the end. And when the Antichrist goes after the Jews in Revelation 12 and 13 in specifics onward, the midpoint, and then just seeing how it's all tying together and how he's going to, it blows my mind. But thank you guys for watching. We've gone 25, 26 minutes, so I feel like I've done a little live stream, but I just figured I'd do this and get this up to you guys. And I know it's going to be late, 10:30, 11 p.m., so whoever can join, thank you. And if you're still here, thank you guys so much. I want to do another live stream too, and you guys are a blessing to me. I just want to say thank you. I ask for your prayers. And knowing what to do with this channel. We just went over 5,000 subs. Again, thank you for that. And I applied for the monetization to maybe help provide for the family and whatnot, and not have to do the DoorDash and food deliveries as much, and be able to take care of them and do these videos. So, but I've been praying about that too, like, Lord, and I ask for your prayers. God will give me wisdom and understanding and what to do next. I haven't been monetized in years since I took down my last channel, and I just kind of like whatever. But now I'm like, Lord, this is yours. Take it. I just want to be a blessing to you somehow, any way I can, for your kingdom, and to help people come to you, Jesus, because Jesus is coming soon. He could be coming before I finish this video even. I mean, that's how close we are, guys. This is not a joke. It's time to get your lives right with God. Seriously, we're getting down to that crunch time. I know you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to believe me. You know, you're making your own decisions. I get that. Read Romans 1. We're there now. I mean, but dangerous, troubling times are coming, and they're here, and they're not going to get better. You know, the old normal is not coming back, but Jesus is, and that is so true. I saw someone post that, and I liked it, like a bumper sticker. Sounds cliche, but it's so very true. And when this war kicks off, you know what? Honestly, the more I'm looking at this too, the more we're so close to the harpazo rapture. I don't believe in the rapture. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. But we're so close to the harpazo rapture, as Jesus promised, that we could be holding back these wars to come. Psalm 83 in particular, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking we're not going to see it. We're not going to see the finality of it, because it's going to get so ugly so fast. Guys, thank you for listening to me ramble there, but I'll get going. But thank you guys for being here. I love you guys, and let me know in comments how I can help you guys or bless you. And thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon. I have a feeling I'll be back talking soon, honestly, the way things are going. All right, I love you guys. Bye.